You're listening to the Talking TUF podcast, creating tough minds for fitness, nutrition, and business. With your hosts, Rob Foster and Josh Phelps.
So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 4 days of soreness, 3 days of eating and training and how that makes you feel. So actually completely off the ball, not doing anything you should or feel like you should be doing. 2 weeks of no tracking now for Roberto, and what has happened to this man? Has he broken? Has he stayed strong? And one key focus for the next few months. So little small steps that we can be doing consistently to get huge effects. Okay, so it's definitely, we know, taking smaller steps, doing them regularly, being consistent with them is powerful. And also, it's a bit like that, say, with training. And I've realized this last week. So, last week I decided, myself, Suzanne, we were going to have what she likes to call a baby moon. Now, baby moons,
it's got
believe...
a new thing in it, really.
I think Sue has managed to Google all things new to fully get the best out of his pregnancy and honeymoons and all sorts of things in the past couple of years. Honestly, we've done all sorts of trips with all sorts of names.
Mini moon, honeymoon,
baby
moon, and
honeymoon, mini moon, yeah. It's just honestly, you just chuck moon on it and it's done. I'm there. And anyway, listen, we had a fantastic couple of days, so I can't complain. We obviously with everything gone on, we haven't had any sort of long holiday or whatever it may be, so we did a breakaway in England, in the UK, and we went to the Cotswolds. So nice. From where we are, it's actually only a couple of hours away, and what a beautiful place it is. For those people who have not been, definitely try and go and see it. There's lots of little places, towns, villages that we just drove about from place to place. Obviously, Suzanne being pregnant, wasn't drinking or anything like that, so it was quite nice just to walk around and not be too far away from a coffee shop or a toilet or whatever it may have been, and it was fantastic. But because of these 3 days, 4 days actually, well, it was 3 days off training, put it that way, but 4 days sort of away almost, I decided to go hard training. I was like, right, Sunday morning, we're going Sunday midday. I'm going to get up Sunday morning and I'm going to train. And I'm actually going to call this the gym fail, all right? Because I believe this technically could be a gym fail.
How many years experience have you got, and how many times have you actually done this?
I mean, listen, multiple.
I make the same sort of mistakes, really. I'm like, and it's what you're going to go into, but like, I'm going to miss a couple of days. Either how can I not miss? So I'll take something with me, a TRX straps or kettlebell, which actually never get used.
Yeah.
By the way, or do what you did and regret it straight away.
So what happened was I decided to, do a leg day, leg session. And our legs is one I always like to put in first, especially if I'm going away to like Ireland or something like that. I feel like legs, you know what?
It's a big play. You can get a lot of, even if you do train just your legs. It's not, if you're squatting or if you're actually pushing some heavy weights, it's a lot of your body that's involved in that.
It's huge, right? They're big compound movements. You kind of feel like you've worked hard all the time. It's not just a pump feeling. It's but you got to push yourself. And training with Dean actually and Grace. Grace jumped in on that morning. Things weren't necessarily going to plan, I've got to be honest, because the first fail of the day was I thought we would train at 8:30. It was 8 o'clock, and I'd actually called that, by the way. So next thing I've got Dean knocking at the door at 8 a.m. I'm like, crikey, I've only just got up, and he's like. And I'm always early as well. Like, I'm one of these people who's always early. And Dean normally, for the first time, Dean's on time. And he's like, all right, mate. I'm like, oh, crikey. So rushing around a little bit like off the beat anyway. No breakfast. Get to training. Dean has got this monster leg session. I mean, currently in a bit of off-season prep, but a lot of calories. He's putting through a lot of volume, and I mean a lot of volume. And he's pushing some big weights. Very strong guy. And obviously, me being me, was a bit like, you know what, come on, I can do this. You can push this. Yeah, all day. There's no drama. I can do this. So session starts off with leg press. We do one warm-up round of 20 reps. Then we do a following 5 rounds of 15. Right now, for most people listening, I mean, not often are people cracking 5 rounds of 15 reps, unless it's quite what I'd call light. And weight is obviously relevant. But for me, the relevancy was possibly at my 18-90%.
200 plus 250, 300 kilos.
I don't know if it was quite 300. It wouldn't be far off, put it that way. So we're banging out reps. 50.
Here's the thing: if you told someone to do 100 bodyweight squats without any weight at all. That's quite a lot of volume for someone's legs. They'll be like, I can feel that next day.
Definitely.
Do that with 300 kilos on, not on your back, obviously not squatting, but pressing 300 kilos basically away from the earth. That's kind of how leg press works.
It sounds daft. I'm like, listen, I feel all right. I feel okay. Pretty buzzed up, and it's so stupid. We were like, come on, because I hadn't eaten anything. I'd actually chucked some caffeine in quite early, and I was feeling good. That was then followed by hack squat, leg extensions, hamstring curls, lunge walks, all of the same stupid volume. Okay, right? I'm talking like some of them were a few less reps, so more like 10 reps versus 15 and 20s, but others were 20s and still 4, 5, 6 rounds of each. And wow, just that change of stimulus and that sort of volume. The next day, so we get to the Cotswolds. So bear in mind, I then sat in the fail was the 2-hour drive directly after, and very little stretching because I'm now running behind. I'm like, jumped into the car. I'm like, yeah, I feel good. Sue's like, you're hungry? I'm like, no, I'm good. Just kind of grabbed a sandwich sort of thing, and that's kind of how the next 3 days went. I didn't want to put any pressure on. It sounds stupid, but having to eat a certain way, and we want to go out and just enjoy things. If we saw an ice cream thing, let's grab an ice cream. If it was, a burger or whatever, let's have a burger. It was one of those. The food, and then of an evening, the reality was we just sat in the hotel, put a bit of TV on, had a bag of chocolate, whatever. And it was nice. It was lovely. It was massively needed, well recovered. But the recovery was also needed because the next day I got up and it was brilliant because Sue's. I don't want to say Sue's waddling, right? She's not waddling, but she's got a bit of a pregnancy walk going on. She's good. She's only got a couple of weeks left, so she's got a bit of an affected walk, but she's doing really well. Like, don't get me wrong, she can walk everywhere. She's not like lower back holding huge, but she's got a bit of. I next to her though was certainly looking like I was pregnant. I could not walk down the steps properly. My quads were so sore to touch. I was like, ouch. So when people ask about muscle soreness, like, is it a thing? Are DOMs a thing? Like, do you? I bet you guys don't get them anymore. I certainly do, and it can happen to anyone, right? You can change up a movement, maybe doing different movements is a great way of doing it. These were similar movements even. It was just changing the volume and the weight, and stupidly, I let me go get involved, and I was like, I'll keep up with Dean. I'll be pushing this, push heavy. Wowzers.
How did Grace?
3 days. Yeah, Grace, I think, to be honest, Grace kept quiet. I sent her a message the next day, like, please tell me you're feeling your legs today. She's like, yeah, I feel a little bit soreness. She's playing that down. Like, I'm not, without being rude, she may not have been pushing the same sorts of weights, which is fine, but I still can't believe that she won't feel it. Nah. Mind you, she managed to appropriately take a week off of training for mobility. So I'm guessing there's a little bit of I'm not. So
we jumped in on a back session with Dean, didn't we? And it was in bits. My back was in bits. I pulled my back, my lat, swinging a golf club. But we went down the range and we got 3 balls.
All health and fitness. All health and fitness.
That's tight. Blame Dean on that for too much volume. But I suppose the lesson from this would be is that it's all well and good to chuck one of those in a day, and actually, considering I knew I wasn't going to be training for the next 3 days, it was quite nice because I kind of felt soreness and I didn't feel like I'm missing out. So that was kind of, I actually felt like I had a leg pump for about 3 days. Pretty sure they're still sore now if I touch them. But the reality is, if I was to maybe not learn the lesson from this, I might go in the next day and do the same, as you say, on my back and then my chest and then the legs again. And the trouble being, people who start their fitness journey do that and then they have 7 days off, and the effectiveness they get from doing one session in 7 days is very minimal. Whereas if they went 50% for 4 days, then obviously...
And as you say, it's not necessarily that they jump in and go 5 rounds of 15, but they're doing the equivalent of, and they're getting started and they're like, oh, what should I be doing? And then, not be funny, or they jump on the internet and go, oh, what program should I do for maximum hypertrophy? Well, unfortunately, a lot of these times, we've said it time and time again, you're following something that's worked for somebody who may have been training for 8
decades.
to 10 years, whatever more, and might even have some additional help potentially, okay, and you might be natural and they might not be as much as they might be saying it, and they're putting such a volume through themselves or have posted this program, and you're like, I'm really struggling to do this, and then you're like, I can't get the gains. Maybe the program does work, but I can't get the gains unless I do this, and then you push yourself to such a hard place straight off the bat that it then becomes so, as you say, detrimental, because you can't carry on training the rest of the week. You're so sore, you can't move properly, or if you are moving, you're potentially moving in really bad ways because you're just so tight and so sore. And say it's all well and good having somebody who's absolutely jacked telling you how they get jacked and how they train, and I'm going to follow their program day by day. But reality is, as you say, they've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years maybe. They might be eating another 2,000-3,000 calories more than you every single day. They might be doing other things that might be helping them recover, and then be able to do that on a daily basis. 6-day splits where you might only need to be starting off with sort of 3, maybe 4 times a week, and giving yourself adequate rest, giving yourself time to refuel and all the other things. Someone
working a full week, you say you got to train 5-6 times a week, they're like, how the hell am I going to get that in? Like, that's why even we might post 4 or 5 times a week on our TUF barbell club, but the sets and reps on those is pretty moderate, really. 2 to 3 sets of something, 5 exercises. We've done in about an hour or so. We put little clips on there for people to follow, because we know that, well, that's what we do. We don't do 20 sets of one muscle group and then move on to another muscle group in the same session. We do whatever it may be, add up to like 15 sets completely across multiple muscle groups of a certain area of the body, and that's adequate, really.
And the thing is, as you say, you've got to work out what's going to be right for you and how you're feeling. And this probably leads on to my, I suppose, almost my next point of this as such, is just being aware of, what's going on around you, what the other effects are of things going on around. It's all well and good saying, I'm going to train 6 days a week, and there's going to be some times where we probably could train like that for 6 days on the bounce, feeling super good, you're sleeping well, other things in your life are pretty much in balance. I mean, it's pretty chaotic at the moment with sort of everybody's lifestyles, I believe. So to have other stresses kicking in and then going, right, I'm following a program, it says I've got to do 5 reps at 60%, 70%, 3 reps at 80%, and then you're like, crikey, that 5 reps feels like 90%. Like, what's going on? It's 60%, but it feels like 90%. Should I be trying to load up that weight again to hit that? If you've not slept right, if you've got other things going on, it's distracting as well. You when you come into, I suppose, your gym or whatever else it is, it's about having the right environment, the right setup. I mean, we've discussed this in the past where we actually took ourselves to a different gym in the past to train, because we were then having the right, I suppose it was almost putting ourselves into an environment where this is where we train. We don't work as such here. I mean, we always talk work and stuff, but that's kind of part and parcel of it, which is fun. It's chucking around ideas sometimes. Other times it gets very distracting. Last week we had a session and there's a lot going on again, and Friday rolls around, we're doing a leg session, and do you know what? It was good. We got through the session. Was it our best ever leg session? Possibly not. But the hard thing was we were distracted by something that's been going on in work and other things, and then it becomes hard, right? It's hard to focus. You're like, right, okay, I'm doing these reps, but my head's elsewhere. Am I giving it everything? Am I getting the most out of it? Well, the argument is we did a lot more than what we could have done and just buried our head in the sands and just gone, right, we've got to go and deal with this, got to stop, got to boom, boom, boom. But, it's also quite tough because it was never going to be our best leg session today because there was a distraction. And that happens, and everyone's going to have that, right? You're always going to have something potentially that could distract you. So trying to create the best environment and it's not just training, it's learning, it's being present with your family, but you've got to create that environment. If you're sitting at home and you're trying to be dad or partner or whoever, son, but you're there and you've got your mobile out and you're reading your work emails and you're doing all that. Are you creating the best environment to be that person, or are you being distracted? Are you still being the worker, the employee, the employer, the whatever? And then, with the training, are you clearing yourself, or are you taking your phone there that's got emails and stuff like that? Can you switch those notifications off and maybe just have it for tracking your workout, or maybe leave your phone elsewhere, leave it in your gym bag, leave it in the locker, leave it somewhere else, The
best thing we used to probably do was just have a notebook, old school pen and paper. It would take probably half as long to actually write it out as it does to do the session, but it was there, like you just had again, you'd forget the note paper, you'd be like, I forgot my book, but it was written, it was like, just leave your phone. Now, I mean, we have things on the phone, we track the workouts on the phone and stuff, putting weights in, lifting and things, but it can get distracting with those popping up. So it's pretty relevant.
It's and so going back to the time off, right? I mean, this is an environment thing, and it's hard because I actually went away in the UK and only been 2 hours. I was a bit like, am I going to be able to switch off? It sounds really silly, but being present there with Sue is a big thing, right? She wants to, we've had the lockdown thing, but we carried on working. We did this, there was no holiday as such. In a few weeks, potentially, we've got another one of us kicking around and probably going to be quite distracting in itself. So having some time, alone time for just us two was a big thing. And I was sort of like, right, do I leave my phone? Can I switch it off? And part of me knows that actually I'd be more distracted if I completely switch off, but having check-in times, so actually dialing in with certain times, but also, as I said, with the food side of things and not training, allowed me to be more present with Sue, because I wasn't thinking, right, I've got to get up, I've got to go training, right? Because the first thing I will do in the day is get up, eat breakfast, go do some reading. So you've heard my morning routines time and time again, do a bit of learning, do a bit of writing, do whatever, and then train. And it's kind of my process and doing stuff. So to not do it for 3 days, it's quite tough. And people are like, oh, do you do Summit? Do you go running? I don't. Even my mum messaged, I've got envisions of you running around the Cotswolds sort of thing in a lovely picturesque. I'm like, not a chance. I'm laying here in bed. Like, for me to lay in bed to 8 o'clock with Sue is like a thing, right? It's like, Sue, mind you, she always says she wants me to be there, right? Just chill out in the morning, just relax. She hates it when I'm in the morning because I'm awake from 6. So I'm just like rustling around, trying to sleep. She's like, would you go to sleep? I'm like, I can't sleep, I'm awake. But the rest time probably did me some good. My body, should I say, some recovery. I did feel like I had to get back into training. So Thursday rolled around, I was straight in, felt good training, was ready to train, wanted to push on, and that's a good place to be. The mindset was ready, it was key. It wasn't like I was desperate and I had to do it. At the end of the day, I probably could take another 3 or 4 days off, but I wanted to do it. The environment's there, get back into the good habit. Felt good. As you say, probably did me some good to have that rest time, some downtime, some, more relaxed foods and things. But it's now got me in a position where I've had that little bit of luxury as such. Some people see it as a luxury. I actually don't really. But and that now I'm a bit like, I know I want to feel better. And I know actually how 3 days of eating pretty rubbish makes me feel. It's okay for a day or two. And then I actually do start feeling a bit like, I could do with some more veggies. I could do with some, a bit of activity, being, walking around. Let's just say we're not going 100 miles per hour, but let's say she's heavily pregnant, and it's a little bit of a walk, it's a little bit of a stroll, it's lovely, it's fresh air, but it's not the exercise that I potentially need. I was a bit like a dog, I needed a run out. So come back Thursday, I was ready to rock and roll, and that's a good place to be, I think. Having that. Yeah,
it sounds weird, but even like if you're training, you're definitely eating better, hydrating more, because I might drink water in your protein shake or whatever, or you pre-workout before, so you're actually taking in more fluids, you feel more hydrated, you feel more energized for doing that, and not doing it, feel good mentally to a degree. I'd probably feel like I've missed out something, so I'm not like, I feel like, good, I'm relaxing, and you do need that up and down, but then there's always the thing of, like you're saying, do I need to completely switch my phone off or just have it there briefly checking it? It's like, I can't really deal with the whole do nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to put too much on trying to have to go find a gym and try and do something while I'm away. So although I've done that in the past, I've gone on holiday and just Google where a gym is.
Yeah, definitely.
In some random place in Portugal. I'm like, let's translate this. There's a gym here. It's like an hour and a half walk. So you're not going to the gym and I'll be back soon. Don't worry. Maybe if I hire a scooter, I can get there and back. And then in the end, I'm just like, no, I'll just go for a run. I am someone who I'll just be like, I'll just go for a run. I'll just do a small bodyweight movement circuit. I'll go for a run. I might do that. I'll do it once, different stimulus. I'm like, my legs are pretty sore. I'll leave it a day or two.
Yeah.
Might do it again. So maybe on a 2-week holiday, I might train like 3 or 4 times. Just ticking over, just feeling like I'm just done something, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, when you're looking at a week or 2 weeks holiday, at
3
that
days
point it's got to
be.
I feel like I'm gonna have to chuck it in, because actually that has a negative effect. Then, like if I don't do it, then I am missing out something. Then I'm actually not really that great because I haven't done the exercise.
All you're thinking about is like what to.
And it's not because it's not, and this is another thing I just want everyone to know as well. This isn't because I'm going to lose my gains or something like that. It's like, I don't feel like I'm going to get into terrible shape by not doing this. This is the mental benefits as well, how it makes me feel, the endorphins, the energy expenditure, all the other things. I know that it just makes me feel better and more positive. That's why I do it. I don't do it. It always makes me get, so he's like, oh, you're not going to
change shape.
You're not going to get fat because you're not doing training. I'm like,
I know that.
I'm pretty aware of that, mind you, carrying on eating the way I was, but I was like, I'm very much aware of that, but you're also aware that if I don't go to the gym, I become a little bit more snappy, and you're not going to want to deal with me. Let me go for my right, let me go and get some energy out. Let me go and do something that I need to do. And it's very funny because people are like, oh, but you have to train. It's like, no, it's not about the losing muscle, the whatever. After a week or two, don't get me wrong, you do feel different. Like, you do feel less, muscular and stuff like that. That's a feeling. I'm not saying that the average person would notice it if you walked past, but if you've not done it for a week or two, there is definitely, for somebody who trains daily, it feels like an atrophy. Like, it feels like you've lost muscle, and you're like, oh no, then that actually can really have a negative effect on your mindset. So, you've got to get the balance right for sure. Anyway, how's 2 weeks been? How's that feeling? How's that getting on your mind?
Yeah, well, I think I've done probably the same as you. So when you're on holiday, I've just eaten whatever really. We addressed this in the last one. After about a week of sort of probably winging it too much and not eating enough, and then maybe eating the bad. Like, there's no like cut off, and there's no like. That's not say it's off limits or something, but I'll just go like, oh, I'll have that chocolate bar, I'll have that ice cream, whatever. Whereas probably there was a bit more restriction for sure, tracking, or I'd have them, but I'll be like, yeah, that's fine, I'll have that and that be it. Whereas I probably haven't stopped on certain things, or just not seen it as a free for all and binged every day, but just been like probably a little bit more lax on things. So I think today is actually a Monday we're doing this. I think I'll probably start again just to see where I'm at, and then see how far, like probably not even change much of what I'm eating.
Yeah.
But just see if I'm way off. And if I'm not, maybe I'll just stop again. Maybe I'll just carry on. I don't know. Who knows?
So, yeah,
it's a bit weird because it's like, it was a habit, now it's gone. But I could probably pick it up just like that. I've got my food ready for today because we're in a whole day doing office stuff. But I know exactly what's in each thing.
Yeah.
A, because I've still got the habit of weighing them out, and B, I kind of like to know what I'm eating. But if and actually thinking ahead to like dinner time and stuff, the meals today are actually pretty lean. Yeah, you've got your lean meats, vegetables and stuff. There's nothing like it's going to be. Well, I had a burger on the weekend.
Oh, I saw that. That was from Holy Burger, wasn't it? One of the guys we know, a friend of ours, is launched a new business, I think, and it looks pretty insane.
Pretty epic. But I'm not going to say they were like a 300 calorie burger. Like, this was, it was
I think I ate 300 calories looking at the burger. I reckon
it was, what would you say, 800 plus at least. I reckon 800 or so, which is fine. But what people don't realise, I suppose, is that it was good enough to eat again. Like, I'd be full. I was full anyway. It's a really rich food, right? And Christy didn't eat all of hers for sure, so she left a little bit. I'll have that as well. Yeah, but the fact is that obviously that was made for flavour and taste. But 800 plus calories was fine. I can do that. If I tracked that and then the rest of the day, I can't remember exactly what I had that day, but I probably would have been way over. But then that's kind of like a normal routine that people go through, because that was a weekend as well. Friday, Saturday, the Sunday, we've talked about like the sort of feeling guilty eating because you're like, oh, I've ruined it, I'll start again Monday. So it's only 4 days then, and you're back to it again. Yeah. So 4 days out of 7 you're doing well, 3 days terrible. Whereas actually, why don't you just do 6 days out of 7 well, 1 day allow yourself that going over of the calories or whatever, and actually not feel as bad. Plus, and that's what sort of tracking basically brings about, is the sort of reinforcement of it's not actually anything bad about this. Obviously, from a health perspective, you probably don't want to be consuming loads of sort of processed meats or like red meats or high fatty foods often. But who's to say you can't just have that on the off chance, just as a sort of treat as such, but still include it in your week. It's kind of like how we've sort of worked our meal plan, isn't it? So we sort of go through things with clients and just say, look, just focus on, and we lead on to the next bit, is like one thing. So if it's, I always have like 3 bottles of wine a week, that's something you probably want to sort of focus on and try and change. Why don't we just go for 1 bottle of wine? Just spread that out across the week. Or that's the thing. It's just trying to change things all at once is going to be really sort of counterproductive.
I spoke to a good friend the other day, and he mid-50s. Great guy, very intelligent guy, you know, and he's struggled for a long time with weight loss. And it sounds silly, you know, I think a lot of people think that, you know, it's simple. It's sometimes hard. Some people think it's very confusing. Some people are a bit like, oh, you know, and just get so lost in the process. And, you know, it's, you know, he struggles with movement, should I say, so movement output, because he has got restrictions on that. So from a health perspective, he can't do a lot of energy output in certain ways. But he asked, is there anything I can physically do then? I said, well, yeah, there is. There's definitely movement things you could be doing if you were to think outside the box a little bit, because as soon as, not being funny, but someone's taken away maybe the usage of your legs capacity, to be honest. So not even being able to walk is not a thing, right? So when you then take somebody who can't really walk very well, it does, you know, debilitates, you know, your energy output a little bit. It makes it a little bit harder. But there are things we know that can be done if put in the right environment and doing certain things if you're wanting to and willing to. So the thing that's easiest to approach, as we know, is the energy input. Now, this person does like good food, likes a drink, and likes a few different things. So it's really about going, right, I'm not going to turn around and say to this person, like a lot of people do straight away, and go, here's a diet plan, here's a meal plan, follow this. And one of his questions was, have we ever thought about joining up with such and such diets, you know, like diet plans? And I had a brief conversation about it. I said, I appreciate that, right? I understand what you're saying, because they do work, right? Because they do work, because he's done it before, but he's also still back in the same place time and time again. I said, why has it not worked for you though, that one? He said, well, it did work. I said, okay, brilliant, but why is it not working for you now? Oh yeah, well, it was only a 6-week thing. I was like, okay, so where are we now? Well, I'm a pound or so lighter, but it's creeping back on again. So he'd already put on the weight again that he'd lost, and he's going back to a position where he's going to go back to the weight he was and potentially go beyond that again. I said, right, during that time, what were you allowed to eat? He said, well, I had to eat these silly, well, I won't say what he said, but these silly bars, shall we say, and I had to have this certain meal. And he said, it's horrendous, like, taste it. I said, okay, I get, so, you know, that's fine. I said, some of them are good. Some of the flavours are good in some of these meals and stuff. So I'm not boo-hooing all of those, because I sometimes will have them just they're there, right? But it was more so going, right, okay, well, how can we look at what you're currently doing and just start to manipulate it very, very slightly? As you said, if it's 3 bottles of wine, can we just drop it to 1? How can we manage that? You know, if you're eating out 4 or 5 times a week, right, what are we going to eat when we go out each time? Are we just going to always get absolutely what we fancy and have a starter, main, dessert with a bottle of wine, or can we manage this all a little bit differently? Not that you have to then completely flip your lifestyle, because he would say he entertains clients quite a lot, should we say. So it's about going, right, well, actually, let's look at what we can do, how we can work it, versus what you can't do. You know, it's often like, well, I can't do this and I have to do this and this is a must and I can't do that. Right, okay, well, what can we do? Let's start looking at what we can do. How can we manipulate? How can we change things very, very slightly? And those small tweaks over a long period of time could be adjusted. As you say, it might be that we go to 1 bottle of wine, but then go, right, what else am I going to do then? You know, because if a bottle of wine's on the table, what else can we do? Well, actually, it sounds silly, but if you're having a glass of water alongside your wine, it can prolong that glass of wine, for instance, and it's not seen as outrageous to have a glass of water with your wine. Whereas if you were to go, I'll have a Diet Coke and a red wine, people are like, that's odd. It is odd, right? But everyone out there is going, yeah, but you can drink diet sodas because it keeps you fuller. Well, I get that, but actually, if I ordered just a Diet Coke instead of the red wine, often have people like, oh, so you're not drinking? A question comes up. It creates a thing around somebody who's not wanting to be seen to be doing it as well sometimes, because that's a thing, right? Sometimes people don't want to be seen to be on a diet or making an effort in case things don't kind of work out, or they have to announce it so much and then, you know what, look like they've not maybe achieved something.
I don't know why that's, it's sad that it's things like mindsets around someone wanting to make positive changes is almost feel like you're embarrassed about it.
Oh, come on, just have a beer. Don't worry, one beer's not going to do anything, you know. Yeah. And it's like, oh, go on, stop being silly. You're not going to. Well, you come and relax.
Why are you
yourself.
on a diet for? Why are you eating that? Like, I mean, Christy's had sometimes.
Oh, you're going to lose your 6-pack, are you? Oh, mate, just don't.
Not even
to
us, but like,
no, that's what I'm saying to everyone.
Yeah, like Christy's had comments like, why are you on a diet or something? Why are you eating a salad? Well, because we like eating healthy food. That's why. What's wrong with a salad and chicken salad versus a burger and chips or something? Well, I don't know why. It's weird. Like there's association, like a whole stigma around salads or water or diet drinks when you're out and stuff. It's like you should have. There's an expectation to have the worst thing on the menu because like, oh, you're out. Why not just have it? Because actually, like speaking the same sort of a similar situation, clients who are expected to go out and drink and socialise with their clients for a work thing, they can't be seen to not be drinking or something, because it's kind of like, or they potentially they're seeing different people every day. So for them, like 5 days out of 7, they have to drink and socialise. Whereas if they did it once out of that, then obviously only one set of clients would see them. The others would be like, why are you not drinking wine? Come on, let's get. So it's quite a hard situation. So just alternating between like water or wine, or just saying, making it almost getting the excuse in there. Then, well, okay, I'm only having 1 or 2 because I've got to drive back, or in a few hours, or I've got to make the train back. I've got to be back for the wife or whatever. Or just having something in there to almost just an excuse at the moment, really, just to get that habit ingrained. And then people will start to get used to it. Okay, well, I haven't seen him drinking much recently, so I'm not going to sort of push it, or I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, come on, let's just stay out and just get on, all the beers.
It's tough. It's not an easy situation, but once again, you've got to work around the lifestyle and do it in a way that actually you can live with, and actually just jumping onto a plan or whatever and a complete cut off can be tough, and people might support you for a little while, and then they're sort of like, you're not still doing that, and you got to almost make it. That's kind of sort of, without being daft, I still get bits, but then around people who are with me regularly, like, you know what, every now and again he's gonna have a Diet Coke versus a beer, and do you know what, that's just kind of it. I think
it's almost other people's, like they can't deal with the fact that they would be too weak to do it.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, why are you having that Diet Coke? Why don't you just have beers? Because they know they'll never be able to. They haven't got the strength of mind to do it themselves, even though they might deep down want to quit alcohol or eat healthy foods and stuff, and just take a turn for the better for their health. They just haven't got the minerals to do it. They can't do it, so they have to then put that on someone else and go, oh yeah, why? And then try and break them because to make themselves feel better.
Once again, I think we've said about it. It's a fear of failure almost in some respects, and we've got to stop that fear. I suppose we'll kind of, it's something I was going to come on to anyway. So my thought of the day is, don't be afraid to fail, right? If you fail, it's a lesson. It's a time to learn, and some of the greatest lessons have been learnt from failing, as such as it's seen as. It's not failing; it's maybe trialing things. How many times have you seen even as a kid, you just do a science experiment and something didn't quite work out. So what do? You take a little cooking or baking or whatever. You do something, it doesn't quite work out, right? So all you do is you adjust a little bit there, you add a little bit more flour or whatever it may be. And that's a lesson, because next time you go to bake that cake or do that science experiment or do whatever, we don't see that with some of the bigger lessons in life. And actually the reality is we have to fail or, experiment potentially, to learn some of the greatest lessons, and that is some of the greatest things in history most things in history wouldn't have been achieved if somebody hadn't tried something and failed time and time again. You heard the stories so many times about Einstein, being known and remembered as one of the most incredible people, especially with like science, physics, and such, and all these different things. But actually, when they looked at some of his actually they said on some of his basic mathematical equations, he couldn't, actually comprehend and do some of the more basic things. It was more of the advanced things his head and body, he could compute. So it's crazy to think that we're all of this fear of doing something wrong in the quest to achieve something much greater, So do you know what? If you've done a diet and it hasn't worked out, don't quit on all diets. It just maybe wasn't the right one for you, or a nutrition plan, as I'd much rather you called it. Just maybe you've tried a training or doing something exercise-wise, but you got an injury or you felt uncomfortable. But it doesn't mean there's no way of doing it. It means we've got to tweak it. We've got to adjust. We've got to learn from it. If you've gone to a gym and you've gone too hard, like I did at the beginning of the week, that if that was my first time in a gym, then I probably wouldn't have gone back because it was horrendous. The soreness the next day. You're like, wow, why would I want to do that to myself? Maybe my body's not right for that. Maybe I can't do that. You start questioning yourself. But actually, the thing is, we learn the lesson. We go, right, hey, I went to this, and I go up to an expert or somebody who's done it before and go, right, Rob, I went to the gym and I did 5 rounds of 15 at this weight, and you know what, it absolutely, you'll be like, right, Josh, let's taper that back. I want you to go there. I don't want you to put any weight on. I want you to do 2 rounds of 5 to 8 repetitions. I want you to have a rest then, and maybe do another 2 rounds of 5 to 8, and then call it a day. I'd have felt fantastic. I might have even had a little bit of soreness. And you know what, I would go back again the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. And you know what, I'd have got a lot further, and I've learnt a lesson from doing something and realising what I did wasn't quite right. So remember, don't be afraid to fail. Okay, please don't be afraid to fail, especially if it's in the quest to do something better, especially for your health, for your family, for whatever else it is that you're doing it. Take a bit of a risk, maybe get uncomfortable, but don't ever be afraid to fail, because it's a good lesson to learn from that.
Yeah, and focus on your own goals. Again,
100%.
Yeah, versus external sort of pressures and forces trying to mould you the way they want you to go. So hopefully, again, I've done a fairly short one. I think we've covered a few points. 4, 3, 2, 1. I think was the key today. But watching YouTube, if you are obviously watching, then subscribe to the channel. We're trying to add more videos. There's some great client videos on there as well to watch. So head over there. Obviously, if you're listening, then and subscribe button as well on that, so you can catch more of Talking Tough.
Perfect. Cheers, guys. Peace.
Bye bye.